Right, hello everybody, and welcome back down to a brand new lesson. And in today's lesson I'm going to tell you how these things are the best things that you can invest in for your golf game. Guys, I'm Matt Fryer. Let's take a look at that lesson right now. So the best thing that you could buy for your golf game, alignment canes, generally somewhere in the region of £9.99 to about £15. I've got a pack here from Skills that have got 3 in the pack, which is really handy because it's going to help me do some extra drills with these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 5 uses for your alignment canes, because there's a lot of times in a lot of my lessons I say you've got to get these, you've got to get alignment canes, they're going to be great for when we practice. They buy them and they quickly get slotted into the bag and they become something that we end up hanging our towel on, or we put our head cover over, or they end up scratching our driver. Comment down below as well. Have you had that annoying scratch mark on your driver from the top of these canes? Make sure you've got ones with the little rubber tips on the top so that doesn't happen. That would be tip number 1. But like I say, sometimes they get bought almost as a fashion accessory. So what I want to do is give you 5 ways that you can use these canes. Okay, so alignment cane use number 1, and this is probably the simplest use for them, but probably one of the best uses and one that gets overlooked the most, and that is alignment. Because there's so many good golf swings out there, and you probably sat at home and you've hit some shots out on the golf course and you thought, oh, that felt great, it looked great, it sounded great, but I've missed the fairway by 30 yards. Everything felt right, it felt like a good golf swing. Why has it gone? And these things are so simple to help us actually improve our alignment. All we need to do is bob them down. And what you need to do, and what you will see from a lot of the tour players when they're playing, they're meticulous about their aim. You would see them come, stand behind, maybe look something like this. And this is a great way that if we have the yellow cane here as my ball to target line, as I'm out on the golf course, I can pop this down, have something here where I'm aiming it at my intended target, which is the flag up in the distance. And then what I can do is pop one of the other canes down for myself, not needing that one. And now I can see that I've got this parallel track created, almost like that train track video that I did a while back on the channel. If you haven't seen that, check that out, by the way. But it's something that when I put these down for some of my clients, they think that they're aimed off in a totally different direction, that they're not actually aiming at the intended target, because when they've been out on the golf course, they've got used to maybe aiming off down in a different direction. So actually using the alignment canes and just setting up a track, whether you're out on the golf course and seeing that you would get your ball to target line being the outside one, and then your body to your target line. So your body to target line is always worth noting that it's actually inside your ball to target line. So that means that it's not actually going to be pointing at the same one as this outside cane here, this ball to target line cane. This one on the inside, the body one, will actually be pointing about 5 to 10 yards inside your ball to target cane. So they're a great way for us just to actually practice and rehearse our aim and make sure that we're getting it right every time. So I can confidently now stand here, look behind it, see that once I come in and set up, I'm now nice and square. I feel that my feet, my knees, my hips, torso and shoulders are now aimed parallel and square to that ball to target line. And if I were to make a good swing and make a good connection, not like that one, that was a bit pulley, so I know that that's swing fault error there, but I know that I was actually aimed correctly, so I wouldn't go searching off thinking, was that my golf swing or was that my aim? I know now using these, and if I was out on the driving range, if I aim them at different targets, I'm rehearsing my aim, because a lot of the time when we're at the driving range as well, we get stuck in actually aiming just where the mat aims. So the alignment canes, tip number 1, use them to practice your aim. They are fantastic for that. Okay, so tip number 2 for using your alignment canes and not letting them become a fashion accessory. A great way to use them is actually working on the plane of our golf swing. And what we would need to do is have a ball to target line. Again, I think it's always essential that we practice with a ball to target line. Then what I would do, if I was someone who's maybe swinging a little bit too much over the top or trying to swing a little bit too much from underneath the plane, they're a great way to get us back in shape and get us swinging more on plane. And what I would need to do from here is, if I were to take the club I was using and then place it on the ground here, what I would then do, that club length width from my foot, I would put another cane back here at the same angle as the club I was using. So we can see there, very similar angle. And as I set myself up, what this will allow me to do now, it gives me a good guideline of the direction I want to try and work my swing in. And by using that measurement of the club behind my foot here, it allows me to make sure as I'm coming down, I'm not going to hit this cane. There, I intentionally throw it to do that. But as I'm practicing, it's a good visual for me to work up and down it. Maybe put a little head cover or a foam noodle on here to stop yourself from hitting it if you were to. But here I can work on getting a little bit more underneath, or if I'm getting too underneath it, I can work on getting a little bit more over the top. So tip number 2, get them used to master your playing. If we're swinging too much around the houses and going under and over in all different kinds of manners, this is a great way for you to visually just be working up and down that plane and see that the club's traveling in the right direction. Let's give that a go. Guys, if you're enjoying this video about how to use your alignment canes, hit that subscribe button and that like button for me down there. I want you to get better at golf, and you're going to do that by getting your free golf lessons with me, Matt Fryer Golf, here on the channel. Hit the button, turn on the bell. Let's take a look at another use for your canes. So tip number 3 on how we're going to use these canes. They're fantastic for actually getting our hips working, and a great way to do this would be to place one of the canes actually through your belt loops. Now, depending on which rotation you're working on, whether it's getting your trail hip rotating a bit more or your lead hip, if we took the example of the lead hip, what I would like to do here, again, always have that ball to target line down. But then from there, as I set up, what I would try and do is put another cane a foot in front of me and then a foot back. And the idea is that as I set this one up here, it gives me something as a guideline now for me to try and hit. We can see that as I work through, my cane has to work towards it and stop me from early extending. If you're someone who's really shoving the hips towards the golf ball as we're coming into impact, the little drill here with the hips and getting them turning is a great way for me to feel this rotation of my hips, not the standing up as I'm going through it. So a fantastic little drill to get that feeling going. Let's give that one a go. See if we can get the hip drill working. And as I've hit it there, I've just clipped the cane on the outside. Absolutely crushed that one. The first fairway hit for me there. So tip number 3, get them in your canes, make sure there's nothing poking through so you're not going to impale yourself, but then see that we can start to get the hips working a little bit more instead of getting them sliding or pushing. And that's tip number 3, to use your canes properly. Okay, so tip number 4. These last 2 are probably my favourite tips with these canes, if we can do these correctly. What we would see from a lot of people, and you've probably discussed it with your friends out on the golf course before, or when you've been down at the driving range, or even heard the phrase bandied about, is, oh, I keep scooping at impact. When I hit it, oh, you're really scoopy through impact. And it's a big word that does get bandied around. And what we mean by that is that the lead wrist is going into this cup position. So we would see that the wrist is sort of doing this motion, adding loft to the golf ball, to the golf club, sorry, and potentially also bottoming it out a little bit early. Now, if I were to take my cane here and actually just place it down towards the bottom of my club here like so, and then take my grip, what this would allow me to do, if I were to make that scooping motion now, we can see that the cane actually impacts my lead rib cage here. So what I've actually got to learn to do is turn and rotate while trying to keep my lead wrist as flat as possible. So a great drill when you're doing this is having some practice swings to start off with, and then from there I get my students to really go super small with these swings as we're doing this, but making sure we're only chipping the shots out as we do it. We don't want big swings, we just want little swings to get the feeling and the idea of turning and trying to keep this lead wrist in either a flat or a bowed position. So I'd have my couple of practice swings, feel that I'm turning and holding, turning and holding. A 7-iron should normally go 175 for me, but all I'm literally going to do is try and chip this off 70, 80 yards, 100 max, and just feel that I keep that same position into impact to get rid of that scoop. And not my best there, a little bit chunky to be fair, because I actually felt myself scoop and hit the side, so probably a drill I need to be working on a little bit more. So a fantastic drill to get rid of that scoop and see that we're getting into this nice lead position here where the lead wrist slightly bowed or flat through there. Let's take a look at the fifth and final way to use your alignment canes. Okay, so tip number 5, and this is my favourite one by far. As we can see, we've got the track set up here as normal for my alignment from tip 1, but then what I've done 10 paces out here, I've placed the yellow cane out in front of me, and that's directly on my ball to target line. And the reason that is there, that's going to help me actually learn to shape the golf ball. Sometimes we can get so bogged down in where is the club, where's the shaft, what are my hands doing, am I turning my hip at the right time, and we forget to think about, well, how's the golf club hitting the golf ball and what's the golf ball doing? But this is a great way for me to actually pinpoint that and get into some good habits. So what I would try to do, and I would go through a range session, maybe just doing this drill solely with 30 balls, where I try and start some straight over it, I try and start some right, start some left, maybe start it right, bring it back left, start it left, bring it back right, and so on and so forth. And that's then teaching me to control the way the club's delivered and where the face is looking. So tip number 5, if you can do this, if you've got a grass range, this will benefit your golf game so much. So club at cane out in front of you. On this one here, we're going to start it right and bring it back to the left, standing square to the ball to target line. So let's give that a go. So I'm aiming directly at it, but I want to feel that I'm going to swing right and let it come back towards the left of it. Nice and square, good swing, and perfect. Lovely little draw, starts down the right and moves back towards the left hand side there. So that is a great way to start controlling your ball flight and control your club face. Okay guys, so that is 5 ways to use your alignment canes instead of letting them just sit in your golf bag and be a towel holder. I hope this lesson has helped you this week. Do remember to hit that subscribe button like I said earlier. I want you to get better at golf, and you're going to do that by joining me with your free lessons here on the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.